rowdywrestling.net.
There's a rowdy crowd today.
Hey now everybody, welcome to the Rowdy Wrestling Podcast Summer Slam Preview Edition. I'm Tony Stabile. Joining us in a few seconds will be Steve Rockamaniacs, who can break down all the fun stuff related to WWE going into the what they call biggest party of the summer. But first we got to get things out of the way. Anytime you want to join us or just converse with us outside of the usual YouTube channels or on Twitter. Twitter is at Rowdy Wrestling. I'm Tony Mixtabile. Yes, there was a change. I got tired of spelling Forte for people, even though Will Forte exists. And also Steve is at the usual Rockamaniac 00. Another way you can support the show, besides just constantly talking with us and being there on the social medias, is liking on Facebook, and it's still social media, but following on Twitter, and then subscribing on YouTube and iTunes. But you can also support the wonderful sponsors that we have, primarily heelsandfaces.com, as they're your one-stop shop to make you look good as a pro wrestling fan. Use the promo code ROWDY, ROWDY, at checkout to get yourself 10% off your total purchase order. Yeah, I blew through that intro really well. Steve, how you feeling, brother?
Hey now, everybody. Yes, it's Summer Slam weekend. The marathon begins once again. You know, normally here in the Rowdy Wrestling Podcast, we don't always give you a preview edition of a WWE pay-per-view weekend, but it is, of course, Summer Slam, and it starts what is a marathon. We do have NXT coming up on Saturday, TakeOver Brooklyn 3. Sunday, we've got, 7 hours almost of programming coming up.
7 hours, 13 matches, including the
exactly, and that's despite the fact that they started putting the SummerSlam matches on Raw this past Monday night. So we decided that we might as well give you a little weekend preview here and give us we'll throw in some quick thoughts about what we think heading into the weekend. It's been a busy week as well, as we've heard about the unfortunate news about Ric Flair. I know you touched on it for the GFW press conference earlier this week, and our thoughts and prayers definitely with the Flair family right now, as he continues to be in critical condition, and apparently multiple organ failure is the concern right now. And it's almost sad to say that, almost numb about it, just due to the fact that how many wrestlers have passed away over these past few years, it's kind of like surreal that we may lose the Nature Boy, but we got to hope that he kicks out once again and is able to continue styling and profiling, so to speak. And of course, we're gearing up for a very busy time for the Rowdy Wrestling Podcast as well, Tony.
Yeah, I mean, 2-year anniversary. I hate to transition off of that Ric Flair statement. Come on, how dare you?
Hey, well, you already talked about it.
I know.
So I gave some quick thoughts. We're moving along.
I feel like such a dick.
People know how we are, Tony.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, well, without bearing the lead, I mean, 2 years. We're heading up there. August 25th was I believe the dropping of the very first episode of the podcast. So you and I are going to have some fun times. We're going to sit back and we're going to reminisce over the past 2 years, talk about I guess we're going to talk about ourselves instead of just pro wrestling for a little bit. So that's going to be a lot of fun. The interviews start back up in the following weeks after that, and just a smorgasbord, if I can use that word, of entertaining and fun stuff I hope that all of you will be able to enjoy. Now, Steve.
Yes.
Do you have a beer in hand?
I could get one.
I want you to get one because I'm making you play a drinking game. As tight as this episode's going to be, you're going to drink for every single match on SummerSlam that we're going to preview that we've seen in the past 6 months.
Oh, gosh. All right. I thought we were – for a second there, you scared me. I thought we were going to talk about Destination X.
Unfortunately, my plan, as I mentioned to you earlier this afternoon, is we've been plugging it for months at this point with all the GFW. Go get your beer. I'll hear you. The GFW media calls, the conference calls. I tried to tune into Destination X tonight, And my usual methods, wink, wink, were not there, as unfortunately whoever does their job in aiding me to watch the show was either asleep at the wheel or just not there. So I guess I'll be watching Destination X sometime this weekend whenever I find 5 minutes.
All right, we'll throw that in there at some point. I did want to talk about James E. Cornette, but
well, we can talk about, because we do know James, Cornette's back.
Yeah, I heard about Cornette being back, and I kind of had this mixed reaction about Jim Cornette being back because, by default, I should kind of not like Jim Cornette because, I mean, he's just so stuck in his old school ways that he hates pretty much everything about pro wrestling nowadays. But deep inside, I'm a grumpy old man, so I kind of still like, Jim Cornette nonetheless. And so when I saw the fact that he was back in TNA, I was like, whoa, okay. So hell does freeze over sometimes. And
twice this year with him.
And
first WWE, now them.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of cool to see Jim Cornette back there. I definitely am interested in seeing what he will do there. And I haven't gotten a chance to see all the show either. So we'll save some thoughts, I guess, for later in the week, since we do have a marathon weekend here, and we're going to pretty much give you guys like 4 or 5 shows in a row. So we'll have plenty of time to talk about a lot of things over the next few days.
Oh yeah, buckle in. All right, so let's not waste too much time over semantics of what we're going to do. Let's head right into NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 3. As per the usual, NXT, very old school booking in the sense that they only give you a couple of matches for a big show so that everybody can have the right amount of time to put on a performance. 5 matches. Let's go quickly through them. You have Johnny Gargano versus Andrade Cien Almas, who's accompanied by Zelina Vega. Now, for me, this is very exciting because A, I love me some Johnny wrestling, but B, we finally have Almas essentially like starting to flower. We're finally starting to get something with this guy where it's been almost a year where it's been are they going to do something with him? His character's not really picking up. You attach a hot Latina woman to his arm who's got a really great personality and understands your character, and bam, finally this guy means something. So their feud isn't necessarily anything of importance, but you got 2 characters here that finally, we can see NXT starting to invest behind them. So I'm really much looking forward to this.
Well, yeah, it could be interesting how they book this because, I mean, even when you started talking about the match and you said Cien Almas, I kind of thought to myself, okay, well, they're starting that push for Gargano. I mean, coming off of the split into the tag team, I mean, they have to give him the win. And I mean, after all, Cien Almas pretty much always jobs out anyways, it seems, on every single, takeover. He doesn't look that good when he's coming off of takeovers. So there is a possibility here, like you said, that maybe with the new protege that they give Cien Almas a little bit of a rub here, because obviously Gargano, former tag team partner, being injured right now, doesn't necessarily need the rub. Maybe they could wait a little bit longer, give some credibility to Cien Almas. So it is an interesting matchup here. It could go either way, but I definitely hope that they are able to get. I wouldn't be surprised if this is the opener. Try to get that crowd going in some solid wrestling.
Yeah, well, in my mind here, I'm giving it to Andrade, even though I'm a huge, as I mentioned, big Johnny Gargano mark. I'm trying to get a second dog and convince the girlfriend to name him Gargano as well. But the thing is and take what I'm about to say with the vein that this is being booked by NXT. Johnny Gargano can very much play the babyface underdog. He can be their version of Sami Zayn in 2017. Not the WWE watered down weirdo bullshit that they try to pull with Sami Zayn on the main roster, but what they had done with him in NXT. So the fact that he can go in there and lose, I think, if done right, will not affect his character whatsoever, and Almas definitely needs the win in this circumstance now that they're really starting to build an actual character around him.
Absolutely.
On to the next one. Aleister Black versus Hideo Itami, so take a swig.
All right.
And there we go.
All
so
right.
Hideo Itami, they've taken this guy who came in, and if we're looking at it, 2 years ago, they brought him in thinking he was going to make a splash, but the crowd they saw a guy who hit the GTS in Japan. That's really what it is in my mind. And I mean this with the utmost respect to the human being, but the character that NXT helped him portray, or that he was able to portray with his limited English and, fish out of water sort of circumstance, he didn't get over. Then he got hurt. Then he got hurt again. So it was a series of horrible events that stopped this guy. Now he's coming back, and Aleister Black, at almost every twist and turn, has had this guy's number. I mean, they had him in this weird good guy, but not really good guy, bad guy, not really bad guy feud with Cassius Ohno. Now he's with Aleister Black. It just seems so weird to me, and they're really behind Aleister Black. So I am oddly predicting a very short match, almost squash-like they've had in the past, Aleister Black.
One thing I do like, at least two matches in to this card, is that, I mean, there's some legitimate arguments that could be made either way for the first two matches. I mean, Hideo Itami, the guy has unfortunately suffered many injuries that has been a major setback on his WWE career. But, he's talked about, or at least been rumored, that it's like, well, if this is not going to work out, he's going to go back to Japan. And you almost start to think to yourself, well, I mean, they gotta give him some time here. They gotta, and I think even Triple H kind of alluded to it in the conference call that we put out yesterday about, it's just been some bad luck, but I think he's going to persevere and still get a chance to move up the roster. So I think there's some arguments to be made either way there, but I do agree with you. Aleister Black has been getting a huge push, and that guy could be a potential call up to the main roster, even in the near future. So I would agree with you. I think they need to continue that push, and I actually am. Aleister Black supporter so far. I was very impressed with his debut at one of the previous takeovers, and I like his entrance. I like everything about it. So I do hope that they do go that way.
So let's move on over to the NXT Tag Team Championship match. You have the Authors of Pain with Paul Ellering defending versus Sanity, Alexander Wolf and Killian Dane. They're going to be accompanied by Eric Young and Nikki Cross. Big, huge mother effing props to whoever booked this to get the Authors of Pain in the, I guess, underdog babyface-esque role in this match. When they had that insane beatdown where they're just trying to save each other from Sanity, not last week, I think, but it was the week before on NXT television. That was insane. I mean, I was dreading that this feud was going to happen, only because I'm not a fan of over-the-top gimmick heel versus heel. But this has been working wonderfully in my mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely agree with you there.
So, in the end, I'm going to give it to Authors of Pain. I don't think Sanity need the championships. So, I'm going to say Authors of Pain continue on their run.
I agree with you. I think Sanity actually doesn't need the titles. And you know what? The only thing that comes to mind, though, is that they do need to call up a tag team. And, Authors of Pain I could see going up just due to the size and Vince McMahon loving big men and so on and so forth. So, I mean, that's the only maybe twist in this. Otherwise,
I don't think they're polished enough yet. They're good for what they're doing in NXT, but in WWE they're going to have them doing something so far left from what they're doing now that they're just going to drown.
Yeah, but they called up the Vaudevillains and that, yeah.
No, the Vaudevillains were ready for the main roster. The Vaudevillains just had the world's worst gimmick for the main roster.
True.
That does not work with a new crowd every week. That works with the same jaded, emo, hipster crowd that attends Full Sail.
True.
All right, so I'm sorry, I beat you in a submission on that one. I apologize. I didn't mean to steamroll you there. Then let's move on over to Asuka, the longest reigning champion in WWE, I guess, in the past 20 years? Because she beat Goldberg's reign. She beat Wendy Richter's reign. I mean, the only women's champion who's held the title longer than her was Fabulous Moolah, but that'll never be topped. Versus Ember Moon. Listen, all I'm going to say here is you the reason why Asuka is having a hard time getting over as a heel is because she beats everybody. She's constantly winning. She's not really cheating. She's just a badass bitch. So in my mind, you don't even have her lose. Have her beat Ember Moon, and it sucks because I really like Ember Moon, but have her go to the main roster completely undefeated. Have her abdicate the championship. I believe we've spoken about this. Have her ditch the NXT Women's title, being like, all right, there's nobody that can beat me. I don't need to hold on to this anymore. Have, you peasants fight over this. I'm going to go take what's mine and be on the women's roster. Let her do that thing. And that way, in the future, if you ever debut a girl and have her go on a crazy winning streak, you can have Asuka come down and then have her go up and then have a real match between the two of them.
Yeah, absolutely, hands down. There's no justification for her to lose to Ember Moon. She has to win. She has to just throw the title away and go to the main roster.
And in my mind, it doesn't make the title mean anything less.
No, not at all. It's like, I have no competition left here. I'm going up to the main roster. The only thing that I would even remotely accept is if someone from the main roster came down and screwed her over. And then which transitions her to the main roster.
An immediate main roster feud. Okay.
Exactly. That's the only thing I would accept as her losing the title to Ember Moon. If you want to go that route, I have no problem with that. But if she loses clean, that is the biggest mistake that they could have done to her, as it just makes no sense at all that she completely, utterly dominates this long and then loses clean. So definitely, I think she has to win here and then move up and go to the main roster for sure.
And then we have the main event, Bobby Roode defending versus Drew McIntyre for the NXT Championship. Who would have thought Drew McIntyre, even a year ago, would have been back in WWE?
Well, yeah, you're right. It's most people would not have thought that for sure. I definitely agree with you. He was having a pretty good run in TNA at the time, and but we don't need to get into the history of TNA's negotiations. But hey, their loss is NXT's gain. And his chance at a second life in the WWE universe. And we knew it was going to go this route where he was obviously going to become a title contender. And I mean, I hope that this match delivers. I hope that this is not another case of Bobby Roode just doing the entrance and then the match being eh. So it's something that has potential. Let's see how it goes. I don't know. Unless they're calling him up, I don't know if Bobby Roode drops here though.
I don't think he drops here. I really don't. And this is I'll be honest, probably 90% the Bobby Roode mark that I am talking. Mm-hmm. I don't think he drops it anytime soon. Drew McIntyre at this point, I think, just needs to have another 2 or 3 really great matches on NXT for them to be like, okay, this guy's 6 foot something, he's huge, he's jacked. All right, bring him back on the main roster, and we're actually going to do something with him. I think that's what happens here, and then we finally get a lot of retribution for the 3MB fans out there.
Mm-hmm.
So on that note, I'm really excited for NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 3. That's a mouthful, don't you think?
Oh, yeah. Next year it'll be 4.
Yeah, that's right, because they re-signed. They're going back to the Barclays for all of it, doing all 4 shows, NXT, SummerSlam, Raw, and SmackDown.
Oh, and guess who's advertised for Raw on Monday?
Yeah, don't say.
Shall we mention that? No, it's okay. We'll leave it out.
We'll leave it out of that for now. So let's go ahead and dive, I guess, neck first into SummerSlam. 13 matches, 3 of them on the pre-show, 10 of them on the main show. This thing's starting at, the main show starting at 7, and I believe they said it was an actual 2-hour pre-show. So they're going till midnight. So this is legitimately going to be a 7-hour show.
All right, just like Rainier the last time, 2 times, if I'm not mistaken. This year was worse than the year before. But we've got another marathon on our hands. Let's get right to it. Let's rapid fire the pre-show matches here.
Yeah, gladly. Take a swig. Akira Tozawa versus Neville.
All right.
Tozawa retains.
I would think so. Yeah. I mean, why make him win and then drop on Sunday?
Well, didn't they do that with what's his face, the other Lucha guy?
Yeah,
It doesn't matter.
I guess that would be the swerve. It would be like everybody will expect Cesaro to win, and it'll be like, oh yeah, just like Ambrose on or whatever WrestleMania match it was there.
There you go. Then we have the New Day versus the Usos. Take a swig.
All right. So yeah, New Day.
Yeah, New Day. I mean, champions retain. Then we have the one that was added today, and I believe this is because they're trying to hold off on the Jason Jordan versus Miz feud. So you have the Hardys and Jason Jordan versus the Miz and the Miztourage. So
Yeah,
you don't
I
need
think-
to take a swig. This is actually going to be the first time we get this iteration of that match.
Yeah, wasn't this originally supposed to be like with, I guess it was with the club, right? And then and it was with it was with the club. It was a three-way originally, but then, or at least in the rumors, right? But now it ends up being this.
Yep, so no club on the show at all, unless maybe they do one of those nerd promos. But regardless, I think in this match, this is the one where you kind of can guarantee to give the baby faces the win. I mean, this will be the third baby face we predict to win, but Hardy Boys and Jason Jordan will defeat the Miz and the Miztourage because that's how they want to do things, and I guess they want to make Jason Jordan look as good as possible.
Pretty much, yeah.
So then let's start the pay-per-view proper as we have the Raw Tag Team Championship. Cesaro and Sheamus defending versus 2/3 of the Shield, so it's the Shield. Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins. Now listen, I very quickly, I'm not going to dwell on this too much.
See, that was
Remember
the
that
three-way.
episode of South Park a couple of years ago where they dived into wrestling and all the kids became wrestlers?
Mm-hmm.
And all essentially you saw were promos, no actual wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a lot of like, you broke my heart, man, and da-da-da-da. I swear to God, there's a writer who went verbatim and just wrote down one of the promos from that episode of South Park and has given it to Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose. That's what it was to me. I felt... And I might be in the wrong because the crowd went ape shit when they finally did the fist bump on Monday this week. I thought it was a week too late after what they could have done last week, spur of the moment. All right, we're going to do a fist bump, after kicking everybody's asses, but whatever. It happened. They're back together. I don't think you should give these guys the titles yet or at all in my mind. This really does feel like a placeholder feud as these two guys have nothing to do with the main event going on Raw, and the fact that the main event match for SummerSlam is a 4-way for the Universal title. So you're essentially taking away 4 prospective opponents for these guys. So they just got slapped together for a very good feel-good moment and into this know-nothing championship match for the tag titles. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the Hardys actually that was the three-way that I was talking about, and they're not in it now. The scary thought is that you could see all 3 Shield members walk out with the title. That's a scary thought.
That's what would open up Raw the next night.
You
have the old Shield music where they actually have the guy going through like Sierra Hotel.
Yes. So I wouldn't be surprised if they win, quite honestly. I mean, because they don't know what to do with them anyways. Like singles, like it just seems that it's random stuff for these guys right now. So I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, it might be time to get the title off of Cesaro and Sheamus anyways. So I wouldn't mind if that happened. To be quite honest with you, I would mind if Roman Reigns wins, but I wouldn't mind if those two guys win.
Oh, there we go. Let's move on over. John Cena versus Baron Corbin. Just smell your beer. I think that counts as a sniff.
Yeah, okay.
Honestly, I don't care. I think this is going to be one where Super Cena wins. And if he has a bad match with Baron Corbin, I think that's officially the end. I mean, the way they treated the guy, he had his cash-in and lost. And
what the hell
and he
was
didn't
that?
even cash in and have a real match. He cashed in after, what's-his-face, Jinder Mahal had been... had a had a big long match with John Cena. So you're tired, you're essentially easy pickings, and you get rolled up like an idiot. I really think this is WWE sending the guy a message like, hey, you're not doing what we want you to do. I think we're almost over, because look what losing the Money in the Bank match did to their cash-in, I should say, to what's-his-face. I don't remember anybody's names tonight. Damian Sandow.
Yeah. See, I've never been a supporter really of Baron Corbin.
Neither have I.
I've never really understood what they saw in him.
Sad face belly.
He's okay, but he's not main event worthy, at least in my personal opinion or flavor. So, it's when I saw that he dropped it, I was like, okay, because I was almost certain that WWE was going to go with their little gimmick where, oh, Jinder drops the title to Shinsuke. Oh, here comes Baron, and Baron takes the title. See, now that
was a lot of people expected that. So at least now we don't have that hanging over.
Exactly.
That
so
match.
Super Cena should win unless they want to write him off television to go do some other Transformers movie or some other TV show.
No, I think he's booked for quite a few Raws. Regardless.
Okay, good. So Cena should win then. But then again, Cena will be like, "Well, this guy needs a rub," and then I'll just go to Raw. So I could see that happening.
Just give me an answer. Gun to your head. Who's winning?
Okay. You know what? The way WWE books, Cena gives him the rub and goes over to Raw.
All right. So let's move on over. Take a gigantic gulp. Finn Balor versus Bray Wyatt.
Okay.
The Demon. Hang on.
Yeah,
Demon
King
wins.
Yeah, Demon wins.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to do it after saying he didn't do it. And Bray Wyatt always loses, it seems. So
at pay-per-views. Well, he won clean on Raw, so that's why I'm like, he won clean on Raw. They're promoting it's going to be the Demon Finn Balor, so it's him going Super Saiyan. Yeah, he's just going to win.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you.
Then we have Big Cass versus The Big Show. Take a swig.
Oh, God. Okay.
Enzo Amore will be suspended above the ring in a shark cage. I mean, why is the babyface being hung above the ring?
I don't even know why there's a shark cage. It's like they all of a sudden like
trying to. They built the shark cage for NXT, so they had to use it for Kevin Owens, and now they have it for there. They also have the playset. That's why this exists. They realize they still have the playset in stock.
They're like, okay, guys, like we got to cut back on fireworks and stuff, and it's like we definitely got to get more bang for our buck. Hey, how much did we pay for that shark cage? Oh yeah, okay, you know what? We should use it again. Okay, so
that's why the Punjabi prison match came back.
Yeah, but at least they used that like 3 times. So
shark cage is up to 3.
Yeah, well, listen. I don't care. So they were like, hey. Okay, so write a promo. Okay, so they're talking, and then they just randomly talk about a shark cage. Okay, all right, sounds good. Whatever.
I'm predicting Enzo turns heel, which is the swerve WWE booking. Turns heel on Big Show, drops him to Big Cass. Big Cass wins.
I'm thinking that they do that, and they realize that, like, oops, because I understand there's all the heat on Enzo right now, and that the talk of putting him down to 205 Live. I understand that, but maybe they kind of realize, like, oops, we shouldn't have split them up. So let's put them back together. And how do we do that? We get him to turn heel. Okay, well, hey, why not? And it doesn't hurt the Big Show. Who cares about the Big Show at this point, right? He doesn't care.
No,
he doesn't care himself. I know somebody who was on a plane with him a couple weeks ago. So, it's not like he really cares. He was talking openly about it on a plane. So
there we go. So let's move on over. I completely forgot this was happening, and I love the guy. Rusev versus Randy Orton. No need to talk about this. Rusev Matchka. What do you say?
You know what? Orton gets the win.
Oh, we're right down the middle. Kevin Owens versus AJ Styles. Take a swig.
No, that you know what? I could watch that every day.
No, but that has happened. Take a swig.
All right.
I'm an enabler. Shane McMahon as a special guest referee here. I mean, the story of the match isn't even in the feud between AJ and Kevin Owens. The story is Shane's involved. That's really it.
Yeah, because there was talk of Owens versus Shane at SummerSlam at one point.
I think what we're going to get is we're going to either get that or the Survivor Series match version of that at Survivor Series.
That is another rumor. It's Team Shane versus Team Owens. And so, therefore, it should continue.
Can Shane's team be the Mean Street Posse?
Oh, that would be epic. That would be freaking epic. I'd mark out for that.
I would too.
I think Kevin Owens would mark out for that.
I'm pretty sure everyone would mark out for that.
So, I guess something happens to continue heat between Kevin and Shane. So, AJ wins.
Yeah, I think at this point you really got to have AJ win. Seeing he's a champion, he's got to go over, and then Kevin can have his rotten gripes with Shane McMahon, and then you go from there.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have the Raw Women's Championship, Alexa Bliss versus Sasha Banks. Sasha, the late-minute match-winning replacement to Bayley, who got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
I think at this point you should just keep it on Alexa for a very long time, as there's no, like, I don't think any girl... I think all the girls need it. They all need the championship, but at this point, storyline-wise, I mean, Alexa's the only one who really deserves it, as Alexa's the only real competent one there.
This is literally a toss-up in sports books right now when it comes to the odds. It's been swinging back and forth, and
when you want to pop the crowd, have Sasha win.
Yeah, exactly. But it's been a long-term thing between the two. You finish it off with Sasha going over. It would make sense. I think Bayley was supposed to win here, so I wouldn't be surprised if they go that route. So yeah, I guess I'm going to lean with that for now. But it's literally a toss-up at this point.
I'm going with Alexa.
Mm-hmm.
Then let's go over to the SmackDown Women's Championship. Let's not forget there is a Money in the Bank briefcase still at play there. Naomi defending versus Natalya. Like we discussed about this last time, I think everybody just kind of sat there and went, well, I think we should actually have a good match after all the Lana Championship matches. Who can wrestle? Oh, Natalya can. Let's just give it to Natalya for the time being.
So I don't think she's going to win. Do they do the gimmick here, like have her win and then have Carmella win it?
Maybe that's why they decided to make Baron Corbin lose, because they're like, we got to do it twice. Like, it's both very obvious, and it's on the same show, SmackDown. So that makes sense. I'm not gonna make the bold prediction of no, I guess you can, because either way, Naomi's got to retain. Because why would Natalya why would Carmella cash in on Natalya as a heel?
And if it was me, I would get them extra heat. Have Ellsworth do something to screw Naomi over behind the ref's back, which gets Natalya the win, and then Carmella blindsides her or something like that, and then cashes in and then gets the title. Get the heat while you're at it. Might as well.
Okay, so Naomi retains, and then we're both thinking we get Carmella coming in, cashing in.
There you go.
Let's move on over. We were talking about that briefly. Jinder Mahal defending versus Shinsuke Nakamura.
Nakamura, the odds-on favorite right now, but I could see smart money coming in to switch this back. So I find it hard to believe that they're actually going to go with Shinsuke. I hope they do.
Would they really go one foreign guy to another for the championship, though?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I really hope they do.
It's not their main championship, so it doesn't matter anymore.
And of course, Jinder's going to walk out a UFC guy who's a Canadian fighter of Indian descent on his debut match at UFC 215 in Edmonton next month. And so, do they still want him to be champion?
Maybe they want him to be champion. He should be known as the champion as he's walking out that other Indian dude.
Yeah, so the UFC WWE crossover continues. But I'd love Shinsuke to win. He's the odds-on favorite, but I have a feeling this is going to stay with Jinder.
All right, so then let's move on over to the main event. I believe if this is not your most looked forward to match on this card, I have no idea what kind of wrestling fan you are. We have a 4-way for the WWE Universal Heavyweight Championship. Brock Lesnar defending versus Roman Reigns, Samoa Joe, and Braun Strowman. Holy shit. I'm actually really fucking excited.
I mean, it's coming off of that build with the Samoa Joe and Brock Lesnar that was so well done last month. And so you had such great heat there that now it continues along. Of course, you have the heat between Braun and Roman as well. And now some great build-up between Braun and Brock. That tease from Raw Monday night, so well done. So this, of course, is not only all the truth in what I just mentioned, but then of course you add in that other level of UFC, right? Because Brock Lesnar is going to walk out if he loses the title, and of course this was what has been the marks going crazy the last few weeks. Oh, he's leaving. He's going to the UFC. He's going to fight in November. He's fighting at the Madison Square Garden. Shut up. He's not fighting at Madison Square Garden. He has a minimum of 6 months drug testing. He's still on the stuff. That's why he hasn't entered any sort of drug testing program just yet. And so he's not leaving. Sources have confirmed he's doing WrestleMania, so he is staying. He's advertised for Raw on Monday. He's advertised for house shows in the future. So does that mean that Brock Lesnar retains on Sunday? It's possible.
Not necessarily.
But not necessarily. Rumors that John Jones will come out and screw him over.
No.
Yeah. Trust me.
I know, but that is really... Right now, John Jones showing up is a lot less likely than Ronda Rousey. Let's leave it that way.
Less likely, but not completely unheard of.
Yeah.
Ronda Rousey will probably do Team 4 Horsewoman versus Team 4 Horsewoman at Survivor Series. But this match, I think that the general markism is that everyone thinks that Brock Lesnar is going to drop and leave. Because, for the most part, people are thinking that's what's happening because of all the attention they got from the UFC. So, therefore, because a lot of people thought that, the swerve was going to be that Brock retained. And so that was the swerve, right? Now, do they re-swerve it? Maybe. But Brock Lesnar, making is probably retaining here. I mean, it's that's the swerve. Unless they re-swerve it. Either way, right now, this is not knowing what they're doing. They've decided not to tell anybody really what the final finish is just yet. Brock Lesnar has a clause in his contract. He has to know in advance. So Brock Lesnar knows, but nobody else knows. And they're going to only tell the 3 other competitors the day of, and they're not telling anybody else until the day of. So they could change it between now and Sunday. They're still thinking about it. But, it would make sense now knowing what we know that Brock Lesnar retains. Otherwise, it's like, why does he stay, right? How do they justify that he stays? Because he got screwed over by some wrestler or somebody and wants to get revenge? Is that enough justification for Brock Lesnar to stay? Maybe.
Exactly. It's one of those weird things where I think you can justify and have a great storyline regardless if he retains or if he doesn't. I really feel for the sake of having a more present champion week to week to week to week going into the fall and Survivor Series, I'd like the title to change hands without him being beaten. So I honestly hope that they take the title off of him SummerSlam Sunday.
And there you have it.
And all that, we'll let everybody go. Enjoy, get ready for the marathon that is coming up SummerSlam weekend. If you haven't seen Destination X yet, you don't have to. But
Petey Williams was there.
Yes, he was. But who knows what kind of Petey Williams we're getting. All I'm saying is you got a lot of wrestling to watch this weekend. If you're in the Montreal-ish area, there's a bunch of great indie shows going on this weekend. Go check those out. I'll probably have some links up on the Rowdy Wrestling Facebook page more often than not. Steve, which match are you most looking forward to this weekend? Quickly.
I would like to rewatch Naito and Kenny Omega.
Which got 6 stars. So all 3 of those matches this year have gotten 6 stars. Unheard of.
No, didn't one of them get 6.25 stars?
Oh, Jesus Christ, I can't follow. 5 should have been the max, but whatever. It's Dave Meltzer. It's his thing. He has the right to do what he wants. Thank you to everybody who's been listening. Check out all previous episodes on rowdywrestling.net. We will be back talking NXT TakeOver 3 Brooklyn, or Brooklyn 3. I just screwed that up, as well as SummerSlam 2017. Have a week. Thanks for downloading today's episode. If you're new around here and like what you've heard, hit that like button and slap the subscribe one too. Leave me a comment and tell me what you thought, and I'll see all of you next time.